Well, Greek lawmakers aren't the only ones who need persuading. Europe's leaders also remain divided on how to deal with the crisis. They've failed to agree on the country's next aid handout, putting even more pressure on Greece to deliver its budget cuts. So what's the cost of all this indecision over Greece's bailout? Well, Joergen Moeller joins us from Singapore. He is a visiting senior research fellow at the Institute of Southeast Asian Studies. So, Joergen, you don't believe that the EU or the IMF are going to allow the Greeks to default. However, these so-called voluntary rollovers, you just heard our economics correspondent there saying that S&P will consider that some sort of default.
I'm sure that neither the Greek politicians nor the EU political leaders will allow Greece to go into default. The cost would be far too high, both for Greece and for Europe. So the decision to postpone the tranche of 10 billion euros was not to help Greece, but to gain a little bit more time and see how far the Greeks could go with their austerity measures, which are certainly necessary. But I would classify a default as almost completely unlikely. The game plan, which has been with us for some time, is to gain time for Greece to stabilize its economy, stabilize its budget, get back to balance on its public budget, while at the same time the German and French banks can improve their balance sheet. And this game plan is actually unfolding in a, let's say, reasonably way. And if only the markets and financial institutions would give it a chance, we could get an orderly sorting out of the problems.
But if these banks are required to extend the maturities on the debt that they have, the Greek debt that they hold, isn't that some sort of a default?
Well, you can use whatever label you want, but as I see it, there will be a restructuring of the Greek debt, but not now. It will come in, let's say, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years' time, when it can be done in a controlled and orderly way, and when you have a clear picture of the burden sharing.
Joergen, let's just say that you're wrong and that Greece is allowed to default. What happens next then? What crisis does that trigger?
But I think your premise is a wrong one, because I don't think I'm wrong. I actually think that I'm right. And the consequences of a Greek default is such that it will not be allowed to happen. Because we all know that it could be a repetition of what we had seen in the United States with private financial institutions. And no one is really interested in that. No one will gain from that. Everybody will try to prevent it. Those who try to force the issue now are outside external financial institutions, not in Europe, which might get a profit on their own by force a default. But why should we let them do it? Why should we let that happen? Why should we let other people get a profit and increase the burden on Greece and the European banks? So it won't happen.
Okay, Joergen Moeller, we'll have to leave it there. From the Institute of Southeast Asia Studies, thank you very much for your insight.